Hello. Happy Monday to you. My name is Mrs. Brown, and I am a certified IEW instructor. And today I am thrilled. Let me tell you, I am super thrilled about the guest that I am going to be talking to today, that I'm going to be bringing you today. And that guest is Lizabeth Brasells, and she is the managing editor of Magnum Opus Magazine. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, and then I'm going to have you welcome her to the screen. I would say stage, but these days it's the screen. So let me just tell you a little bit about her. Lizabeth Brasells has educated and seen all three of her children graduate as homeschoolers from high school and become productive and self-sufficient adults. Let me tell you, when I was talking to her before the interview, I'm like, I need to have you back to talk about just that part. The launching children. I have an 18-year-old, so I'm in that space for sure. She has taught IEW to students for the last 2 decades in various co-ops and private tutoring sessions, and is excited to be a part of IEW's online classes teaching team. She has also joined the customer service team as a customer service consultant and enjoys supporting teachers and families using IEW materials with their students. So help me to warmly welcome Lizabeth Brasells to the screen. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
Excited to be here.
Yes. And L Worthy just says good morning to you in the chat. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but great. This is a conversation, everyone. So please type in the chat. I will try to make sure that your live questions get answered, because again, that's what we're here for. We're here for this to be a conversation. So grab some coffee. Lizabeth has her IEW mug with her coffee in it. This is the coveted mug. I don't have one yet, but one day, I hope that I will get one. So welcome, Lizabeth. Thank you so much for your time this morning. So why don't you tell us a little bit? I read a small portion of your bio a paragraph does not sum up all the things that you do and all the things that you mean to IEW. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and your role as managing editor of Magnum Opus Magazine.
Okay. Well, I am married for almost 35 years. My husband's a firefighter. We have 3 children who are all grown. As you said, they were all homeschooled students and have all graduated and are successful adults, which is very exciting to see. When they were about middle school, high school, they were at a co-op, and one day the executive director, all I was doing there was watching study hall at the time. And she walked into the study hall and she said, there were a few other parents in there, and she said, I need to find an IEW instructor for next year. Is there anybody who can teach that? And I was like, I have no idea what it is, but I'll look into it and I'll teach it. So I got connected. I live outside of Nashville. Pamela White, who wrote Fix It Grammar. Also, we live on opposite sides of the city, but we got connected, and she got me started with teaching writing structure and style, and at the time, the student writing intensive program, and I started teaching that in a co-op setting. And a few years after I started teaching, I found out that they had online classes. So I reached out to Pamela again, and I said, hey, I've been teaching this for a few years. I would love to be an online instructor. And it was a couple years after that that she reached out to me and said, hey, we're looking for a high school instructor. Would you be interested? And so I joined the online instructor team. I think that might have been in 2012 or 2013, something like that. I think I've been doing it for about 10 years. And then last year, I was asked to join the customer service team. So I started doing that, and in September, October of last year, they asked me if I would be interested in taking on the managing editor role of Magnum Opus Magazine. So I started out at that time. There was not a print; they hadn't done a print magazine since 2019. We were just doing the online newsletters. And then this summer, Laura House said, hey, we're doing a print edition for next year. Let's go. So that was really fun putting that together, being able to choose student works for that print magazine. So I'm really excited that I was able to be a part of that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Magnum Opus grow from where it is right now with 1,800 subscribers to hopefully a whole lot more. And that's my goal, is to really get those numbers up. I don't have a specific number in mind yet, but I'm pretty sure that we can bump that up 5,000 subscribers maybe by this time next year. I don't know, lofty goals, you got to have those. But I would really love to see that subscriber number go, because this magazine is so valuable to students, to parents, to teachers. So being able to be on that team and set some goals for it, I'm really excited about those.
Okay, I have two questions.
Sure.
I definitely want you to talk about the value of the magazine for parents and instructors. I was sharing earlier with you that I actually found IEW through classical conversation. So we homeschooled for a little over 10 years, and I didn't actually know about Magnum Opus Magazine until a few years into my use of IEW. And I was like, oh my goodness, I wish I would have known about Magnum Opus Magazine earlier. I absolutely love it. So I do want to know where we go to subscribe to Magnum Opus Magazine, and if you could talk a little bit to the parents and the instructors who are listening about the value of the magazine for them.
Sure. One of the greatest things about Magnum Opus Magazine is that it provides students and parents with excellent examples of each of the writing units. So when a student is even first introduced to that unit, being able to look at, this is an example of a student at your level, level A, level B, level C, because we provide leveled examples in each of the monthly e-newsletters. These are examples of students at your level, maybe not your age. They might be younger, they might be older, but they're writing at your level of what is an excellent example. And it is a goal for students to strive to. Some students are not going to be able to write at that level right away. So it is a great goal. The other thing that I love about it is that it gives you an opportunity to look at another student's writing style. So you get an opportunity to look through that paragraph and what do you see as far as strong verbs? If this was your paragraph, what word would you underline as a strong verb? What word would you underline as an ly adverb? Or would you change one of those ly adverbs to something stronger? So can you improve on this paragraph? So it gives some teaching opportunities for students to be looking through somebody else's work. The other thing that I liked to use them for was what I called reverse keyword outlining. A lot of the units, once you get into unit 3, unit 4, you start asking questions, right? You're asking questions, especially in units 3 and 5 and 7. You're asking yourself questions of a source or of your own brain in unit 7. So look at the paragraph that the student wrote and try to figure out what questions do you think they asked in order to get that information, to help students understand that deeper thinking that is required in order to get a quality keyword outline to write from. So it's not just the simple who, what, when, where, why, and how questions, but it's some of those deeper questions. So those are some of the things that I think are incredibly valuable as far as a teaching tool and an inspiration tool for teachers and students.
That's excellent. I like that idea of the reverse keyword outlining. And this is an example of a level A unit 5 student who is published for a level A. So it's a digital magazine that comes out every month, right? Is that correct?
Just about every month.
Mhm.
Yes, we don't do one in December. And we usually in the summer, I skip a month too, just because of time. But pretty much every month we publish a magazine, a newsletter.
Wonderful. Yeah, I just want to show the parents like this is an example. You can actually just go to the digital magazine and look at these examples that Elizabeth was sharing with us for all levels. So no matter what level you're in or your student is in, you all can see this as a wonderful tool. I love the examples that you gave us. For a student who is interested in submitting their work to Magnum Opus Magazine, what are some tips that you can give to them about submission? And we can talk about the submission guidelines as well.
Great. So we publish, each of the monthly newsletters focuses on a single unit. So the most recent one we did was unit 3. The next one that we'll publish in January will be unit 4. So you can always look at the newsletters based on the unit, which really is very helpful. What we're looking for, we were talking about word limits before. Yes, there are restrictions for words, but unless you are way off, we would still consider it. So, it says 250. If you've got 350 words in your unit 3 submission, don't not submit it because you think it has too many words. Now, if it has 1,500 words, then I'm probably not going to consider it. But it is very helpful to just kind of use those as a guideline, but not as a restriction. However, what I am really looking for is quality vocabulary, a variety of sentence openers, no matter your level. Most students that are in even level know the number 2 or the number 3 sentence opener. And so seeing that variety of sentence openers is going to be super helpful. That strong vocabulary. I'm looking for the best of the best, right? So that is important, that it is quality. But if you are really proud of your work as a student or your student's work as a parent, don't hesitate to submit it and think, it is, oh, this isn't good enough. Because honestly, it's not that it has to be college writing. I'm not looking for college level writing from a level A student. I am looking for level A writing from a level A student. And sometimes we are our children's harshest critics, right? Or our own harshest critic, right? And so, if you're an artist, and you are a painter, you're never done with that painting. You always think that there are things that you can tweak. And it's very similar with writing. You may think that, oh, this could be better. Maybe it could be better. But if you're proud of it and you think it is a great example, go ahead and submit it. Let me be the judge of whether or not it is. And just because your paper doesn't get submitted doesn't mean that it's not good. Because in the newsletter, I only pick 2 at the most of each level for each unit. So, and sometimes I've got 30, 40, 50 submissions that I'm trying to weed through. So just because you don't get chosen, don't let that be a discouragement to you. Just keep submitting and submit different units, because you just never know. We also make journalism, poetry, original fiction. Original fiction is not something that you wrote for unit 3 or unit 5. Those are specific units. So don't take your unit 3 submission from US history and submit it as original fiction, because it actually came from an IEW lesson. So original fiction is something that you write outside of your IEW class that's not related to any IEW lesson, so to speak. We also accept original artwork. we're going to talk about the print Magnum Opus in a minute, but every single piece of artwork in the upcoming print edition of Magnum Opus is student created. This is the first time that has ever happened. I am so excited and so proud of that fact. And so we're always looking for student artwork, whether you draw or paint or sculpt or whatever your medium is. We love to see that. And we may then even reach out to you and say, hey, I need a piece to support a specific story for a print magazine. So you might get commissioned to do something like that as well.
I just want to say thank you for that. I had a student published last month in November's magazine, and I want to speak to just the excitement that happens, not just for that student, but for our team, our writing team. That's what I call my classes. For us to celebrate that, and we celebrated everyone who submitted, because we talked before the live started about process over product. Right. And you touched on that too, just submit. There's something to learn even in the process. Absolutely. Of following the submission guidelines and learning how to do that. So,
and every time they work through an assignment, they are developing that process. Mm-hmm. And so the next time that they do it, it is going to be easier. As a customer service person, I talk to parents a lot about, well, my student did 1A last year. Why would I want to do 2A? Isn't that just repeating? Well, yes, you are repeating the units, but you are developing their mastery of that process. And the same, so just continue to write and continue to go over those units year after year after year. And you will watch that level A student who got published, in a newsletter for level A. Look what happens when they get up to level B. Look what happens when they get up to level C. And they can continue to develop those skills and just become stronger writers.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And for those of you who are listening, be sure to drop your questions in so that you can get your questions answered live if you have any. Certainly, Phil, I don't want to ask all the questions, so I have them, but I don't want to ask all of the questions. Let me put the submissions page back up. And so let's just say, for example, January, Unit 4 is when January is when Unit 4 is published.
Right.
When should students submit to be considered?
So you can submit your unit pieces anytime. I hold on to submissions for at least a year. So if you've got a Unit 3, we had Unit 3 newsletter in November, but your student maybe just finished Unit 3, or they might do Unit 3 in February. That's okay. Submit it. We will hold on to it. It will get considered for the next print edition. It'll get considered for the next Unit 3, which will be next year in November. All is not lost. Typically, we publish the e-newsletter around the middle of each month, and about a week before is when I stop looking at submissions that are coming in, and then everything else just gets held onto for the following year. So there really is not a hard and fast deadline for the newsletters, because they get held onto for at least a year. I've got some that I'll hold on to for 2 years if it's a really good one and I just don't have room to fit it in for that particular month. The other thing is to make sure when you go to, so I believe if you scroll down that page, there's a little place where you can click on for to access the Google Doc to submit. That's usually the best way to do it, although you can email it. But then you have to print off a publication consent and sign it and then scan it and send it back. So the easiest thing is just to use the Google Doc. Do make sure that you use a parent's email address. A lot of times I get these with student email addresses, and I just, as an adult, and thinking about the safety of our children, our children should not be giving their email address out to strangers. Yes, I am a completely safe person, Magnum Opus's IEW magazine. It is completely safe, but it's a really good habit to not have our children give email addresses out. So please use a parent email address so that I can communicate from as an adult to an adult, and not with a child. I do have to do that sometimes because that's what I get, but I prefer to communicate with adults. So make sure that you are providing a parent email address. The other thing, if it is an assignment, so you say you submit your work to Mrs. Brown as your teacher, and she says, oh, this is an awesome paper, you should submit it to Magnum Opus. And incidentally, instructors, you should be telling that to your students. This is an excellent paper. Submit it to Magnum Opus. This is how you do it. It's so easy. Encourage your students to do that. But those papers that they then submit, don't give me the assignment document that you submitted.
Do that. Follow.
Take out the underlines, bolds, sentence opener, numbers, highlights. Take all of that stuff out. It should just be, Times New Roman, 12-point, single spaced. I can change all of those things, but it takes so much time if I have to take out all of the underlines and the italics and all that other stuff. So go ahead and just submit your work with your name, your age, the age that you wrote it at. And then whatever your category is, unit 3, unit 4. On the Google Doc, it'll also ask what course you were taking. So if it corresponds to the U.S. history writing lessons or medieval writing lessons, telling me where that actually came from is going to be helpful. And then just make sure that it's family friendly. No big gory battle scenes. These submissions get used in homeschools as well as traditional schools. A lot of homeschool families are very careful about what their children are exposed to. And then a lot of traditional schools that use these don't want anything that's overly religious, for example. Don't let that discourage you, though, because we have published things that have a religious bent to them. That's not going to happen. But just kind of, if you're writing about your, conversion and you're going to go to the mission field and why you're doing that, that's probably not going to be nothing wrong with writing that. And I think that's a great thing to write about. But it's probably not going to be published just because we want to be careful that we are keeping these for a broader audience than just the homeschool audience that most of our students actually come from. So,
okay. And I have a question from a parent. I'm going to put the question on the screen. It is from Elworthy Just. Are submissions usually only from kids who are naturally motivated, or are there other incentives?
I would say, as a parent or as a teacher, I would say encourage your student. The incentive is your work gets to be published, right? You get to see your name in print and have the potential of being in the actual print magazine, which to a lot of kids, that is very motivating. It's very exciting to say, I've got an article online, or I've got an article in a magazine. Hopefully that would be an incentive. And sometimes parents just publish, they will just submit their kids' work. So you don't have to have your kid's permission to do it or have your kid do it. You can submit. Teachers, you can submit your students' work with their parents' permission, of course. And then be able to say, hey, look, your work got chosen. I didn't tell you about this, and look at what happened. So don't feel like the kid has to be the one that does the submission. It can be you as the teacher or as a parent. And, and then maybe, and I would not say, don't reward the kid if they get published. That's kind of, when they're only limited number, I don't want students to be discouraged because they weren't chosen. Because as I said before, it doesn't mean that they did not have a good submission. It's just that we just are limited in space in what we can publish.
Thank you. And so for teachers who are submitting their students' papers with parent permission, would we go through the Google Doc because the parent needs to physically sign that form on the.
What I would do is I would have a conversation with the parent and ask the parent to do the submission. The other thing that you could do is, as a teacher, you can give the parent, you can print off, there's the link to do, if you're going to email it, there's a link to the consent form.
Yes.
Print out the consent form, give the, fill out everything except for their signature, give it to the parent, have the parent fill it out, and then you can scan it and send it in for them. So all they have to do is just sign their consent, and then you can do the submission yourself.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I wanted to, before we move from the Magnum Opus Magazine link, you mentioned wanting to get those subscriptions up. So I want to show everyone and give them a chance while they're watching, or if you're watching on the replay, if you go to magnumopusmagazine.com, I put the link in the YouTube video. So if you're watching on the replay of YouTube,
yep,
you would just go to subscribe here.
Yep.
And you hit subscribe, and it'll go faster for you because I think I have 25 screens open right now. And when you hit subscribe, you'll see subscribe, and then you'll just hit subscribe today right here. And that will allow you to get Magnum Opus Magazine notifications and news and updates in the e-newsletter, which is nice to get in your inbox so you don't have to remember to come to the magazine each time. It will let you know that there's something being published.
Right.
Each month. Very nice. Okay. Now I do want to talk about some fun things we were discussing. You hinted at them earlier, which was the print magazine and IEW's 12 Days of Christmas. So can you talk a little bit about IEW's 12 Days of Christmas Giving and the print magazine that's coming up?
Yes.
January.
So I think pretty much everybody at IEW loves the 12 Days of Christmas because it is our opportunity to put into the hands or the computers, the minds of our families, our customers, some resources that they wouldn't normally be able to access any other way. So we give away starting on December 26th, all the way through January 6th, every day, there are some gifts that we give. So you can either remember to come to that page, the 12 Days of Christmas page, every day for those 12 days, or you can subscribe. And so a little farther down on that page, there is a register button. If you click on that register button, you will sign up. You will receive emails every day that say, hey, don't forget, day 2 gift is today. And you have to go to the page that day in order to get that day's gift. Once it is day 3, you can no longer get day 2 gifts. So once the day is done, it's done. So you want to make sure you're coming back every day to download. There are lots of different things that we give away, and games, and there's a lot of fun things. I can't say what's on there, but there's lots of fun things. And then you definitely want to sign up and get there on day 12, because on day 12, IEW gives you a physical gift. So they will mail you this item free of charge. I think you have a couple of the previous ones. So last year we gave away the grammar cards free. You just say, I want them, and we send them to you. The year before, however imperfectly. 1 year we gave away grammar.
I remember I signed up that year, and the year, I think 3 years ago, it was the posters.
Yeah, the mini posters.
Yep. So I'm kind of a fan of 12 Days of
It is awesome. So I can't tell you what this year's gift is. It is pretty cool. You are definitely going to want to have it. And what I'm really excited about is the print magazine. Fingers crossed, went to the printer, has already gone to the printer. So what's in it is in it, and it's a good one. If it is printed in time, which hopefully it will be, you will get a copy of the print Magnum Opus in your package with your 12 days gift from day 12. So that is super exciting. I cannot wait. When you see it, it's beautiful. I've only seen it PDF form, but it is beautiful. So many student works, so many student art, so much student artwork. It's just amazing. So I'm really excited to get that into people's hands. I can't wait to see it myself. So that's 12 days. Yeah.
And Mrs. Just said, Mrs. Worthy just said she just signed up. So I promise you, you will, like, once you do it for the first time every year after Christmas. And I love that you all do it the day after. Because, you know, it's like the day after, it's like that, you know, the lull, all the
Yep.
hoopla has ended, but it's like, ooh, I have something to look forward to, and it's free.
Yeah.
So, and they're useful. It's not free and not useful. It's free and extremely useful to us as parents and instructors. And yes, the 12 and the last day, it's always exciting to get
It's a good one. It's a
physical.
really good one. You don't want to miss this.
And I'm going to go live just for those of you who are listening. Every single day, I'm going to go live and remind you
Oh, good.
not miss your prize. And I'm going to be giving away some free IEW things of my own
Nice.
to those who show up to my lives each day. So it'll be a double free thing for you all. So do sign up for IEW's 12 Days of Christmas Giving. You don't want to miss it. Once I figured it out, I think 4 years ago, every year I'm like, registering.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I think you've already talked about kind of what you love about the best opportunity this provides for students. We've talked about the submission guidelines and the schedules, and what you're looking for. Are there any other last details you like to share with students or parents watching about IEW, Magnum Opus Magazine, or how to, you know, launch productive, self-sufficient children into the world?
Well, first of all, I was in the same boat as you. I didn't know about Magnum Opus until, I think I had been teaching IEW for several years before I even realized that there was such a thing. It's been around for 10 years, started as basically Andrew really was inspired by Dr. Webster's Magnum Opus that he did each year for his students. But because Andrew really teaches students all over the world, and because IEW has such a huge reach, that it just, that's not possible to do for students that are just in a little classroom. In order to do that, we have to open it up to students everywhere. And so it started out in, I think, like November of 2013. And it's now December of 2022. So 10 years later. And I hope that it will continue to grow. So that is just kind of like a little bit of what is the whole purpose of Magnum Opus. And I am just really excited to be a part of this program and can't wait to see it continue to grow. I wish that I had taken more advantage of it as an instructor, and I hope that you all will be inspired to get on there, to look at old newsletters, to look at the old digital magazines, to access those things and use them in your classroom, because it's an incredible tool for just inspiring your students. Just a little touch on, I had mentioned this too, because you asked me about raising successful children. My three are, I would not say they're all writers, but they all can write. My two old did not have the benefit of IEW until high school. So they both had 2, maybe 3 years of IEW before they graduated. But both of them in their college English classes, one of them was in a public university. The other was at a private college. Both of their English teachers used their papers as examples in their classes. And they are not like, they are very great students, but they learned this method in just a couple of years. So if you've got high school students, don't think you have missed the mark, that you should have started sooner, because they will pick up on that style. They will pick up on that structure. They will learn that process that we talked about, and be able to produce a great writing product, even with just a year or two of IEW under their belt. I ran into a student last night. I was at a Christmas function, and I ran into a student that I had had for a couple of years, who is now in a co-op she's not taking class from me this year, and that's all right. She said, I could not be doing as well as I am if I hadn't had IEW. So and she had 2 years. And so it doesn't matter whether you've got 1 year or 20 years. Well, hopefully no kid has 20 years of IEW, poor kid. Then, you're going to be able to produce, your student is going to be able to produce quality work. And as I told you earlier, trust what you do, right? So you have an incredible opportunity to work with your own children and to impart your own wisdom and work ethic, and teaching them how to learn and how to present themselves as an adult. And they're going to graduate from high school. Whether you think they did the right thing or not, you did the right thing or not, trust me, you probably did a whole lot more than they would have had otherwise. So trust that, and sit back with joy and gratitude as you watch them just fly. Just that opportunity to watch my children be successful and be productive. Successful is a bad word. I would say they are productive adults. They're not millionaires, and I don't expect that they'll ever be millionaires, but they love people. They are respectful. They all have great work ethic, and I'm proud of the fact that they took some of the stuff that I taught them and probably threw some of it out. That's okay. But being able to see your children succeed is so wonderful. So just trust yourself. You did it right.
Thank you. AB said, ever since I started using IEW this year, I have seen amazing improvement in my children's writing. My kids love being challenged to write better. I will be using IEW going forward.
Submit their work to Magnum Opus. Show me. I want to see how good they're doing.
All right. You heard it there, AB.
Run on your kids. Send those things my way.
Please do. And subscribe to Magnum Opus Magazine as well, so that can stay on the top of our minds. And thank you for your encouragement, because it makes me think of two things. In however imperfectly, the podcast episode part 1, Andrew talks about our kids leave with the experience they had in learning. I know I didn't say it exactly how he said it, but they might not remember every single assignment but they remember how we made them feel, right? They remember their experience. And I just appreciate you encouraging us, because I know when I was I don't homeschool anymore, but when I homeschooled, December I was really rough on myself in December, because I had lofty plans. Went to the homeschool convention in April, over the summer, had all these plans. And then by December, not everything was done. And sometimes we as parents can feel like we're not doing enough. I'm not enough. And so thank you for encouraging us to trust ourselves, right? And to, in our journaling lesson, I was like, thank yourself for 3 things. Like, even if you just showed up, it wasn't perfect. You showed up. You loved your kids. You did your best. Thank yourself for that, as opposed to worrying. And so I thank you for encouraging us to, do this with joy and enjoy the process. right?
Yes.
Enjoy
Yes.
that process. Well, thank you so much for spending the morning with us. I'm super
Thank you
excited
for inviting me.
chat with you. And I've seen your name when I've asked a question in customer service. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to talk to her in, real life. So that's always neat. And I think it's so nice for all of us to see like that there are human beings, not AI,
Right,
behind
right.
customer service and the classes on IEW and all the people at IEW. You all have I've interfaced with a number of you all on the staff, and everybody has just been amazing, absolutely amazing. So I love it. It's worked for all of my actual kids. I have 4 children of my own, and I have loved the growth that I've seen with the students that I teach IW to at homeschoolclick.com. And Casey McCracken says, thank you for your time and your wisdom. She's one of my parents. I love her. She's an
Oh,
amazing parent, and her son Kale is just a lovely student. They're just a lovely family. And so she says, thank you so much for your time
good,
and
good.
your
Well, thank
wisdom.
you for being here.
Yes, thank you for being here. And be sure to share this because again, I want people who, particularly at the beginning of their journey with IEW, to know about all of the benefits that IEW provides to us as parents and instructors. And Magnum Opus Magazine is just one
It's just one.
one of the many.
Hundreds and hundreds of resources. And all you have to do is ask. If you can't find it on the website, chat with customer service, call customer service, email info@IEW, one of those 3. You're going to get a real person, possibly
Mhm.
me. And just please do make sure that you are asking because we have lots of resources. We want you to be successful, and we will do whatever we can to equip you with those methods and materials as our mission says. We want to give those things to you because we want you to create those competent and confident writers and communicators and thinkers.
Absolutely.
Billy
And
Walker is going to kill me if I get that wrong.
right, right. And it says, thank you, ladies. This is our first year with IEW and my first year homeschooling. There's lots of firsts there,
Yeah,
right? So I appreciate this
welcome.
from IEW and Mrs. Brown. And yes, another wonderful parent with beautiful children who are using IEW in my classes. So thank you for showing up and joining and sign up for that 12 days of Christmas giving. Like, I wish I would have known that my first year. It's fun. First of all, it's just fun. It's
Yeah.
fun. And secondly, it's very, very, oh my goodness, this is hilarious. Kale, my student, they call themselves the Mrs. Brownians. There's a hashtag Mrs. Brownians from Kale. So he's saying thank you.
I love that.
Student as well. Yes, I have a lovely, lovely, lovely students who are in my classes. So I won't hold you because you actually have to go
I do.
work with
I
customer
do.
service.
But I
So,
told him I might be late, so that's okay.
so if you all have a question today, you all just might, be lucky
That's
enough
right.
to get
Right.
Lizabeth to answer your question today. So thank you so much. It is a privilege to spend time with you. I'll have
Oh,
to.
likewise.
Are you going to be at any of the conventions if anyone's going
Yeah,
to?
I actually am going to be in Birmingham, Alabama,
Okay.
March 24th and 25th, I think is that. And
Mhm.
then mid-April at the Great Homeschool Convention in Cincinnati.
I'm gonna come see you. I'm near there, so I'm gonna come meet you
Yay!
in person. Okay.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. If anybody comes by, I will be in either of those booths, at both of those conventions. So do come by and say hi. And yeah, I would love to see you.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you so much. I think we've gotten to all the questions in the chat. Others may have questions on the replay.
Oh,
Wonderful.
yay, Casey.
So
You
yes,
say, yeah, make sure you say hi.
yes,
Awesome.
please say hi. And Andrew will be there too.
He will. He's going to be actually, I believe, in both Birmingham and Cincinnati. So
Okay,
those
Birmingham.
two. Yeah.
Wonderful. So you'll see Casey and Kale in Ohio at that
Awesome.
convention. So that's fantastic. Well, thank you again. Today, again, everyone, remember to sign up for 12 Days of Christmas Giving. Subscribe to Magnum Opus Magazine.
Please.
Send your students papers into Magnum Opus Magazine and trust yourself. Trust the process. It does work. It does work. Thank you. It was so lovely to spend our morning with you. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Yes. Wonderful. And you may see AB says, God willing, they'll be in Ohio as well.
Awesome.
So if you all are going to be in Ohio, like seriously, email us, email me. I want to see you, and we will like connect. I'll have to put a time out where I'll say, hey, meet me here.
Meet at the booth at this time, and we'll take a big group shot and put it on the IEW.
We need to do that. I'm going to send out to all of my parents and families and anybody who might be there from my Facebook page. We'll have to plan a meet at the IEW booth and take a picture time. All right. Have a good one. And I will see you hopefully in Ohio.
Okay. Sounds good.
Right, take good care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everyone. And if you have any questions and you want to find me, you can always find me at homeschoolclick.com. That's where my website is and where my classes are. And you can find my email. You can always email me at iewwithmrsbrown@gmail.com. Again, don't forget, sign up for 12 days of Christmas giving. In the YouTube show notes, the link is there. Subscribe to Magnum Opus Magazine. And of course, sharing is caring. So make sure that when you subscribe to Magnum Opus Magazine, you also share that with a friend, someone else as well. All right, everyone, parents, instructors who've come, thank you so much for your time and joining us. And I will see you on the next live. Take good care.